so far we have learned. So far we have learned the basics, the basic of cloud. The basics of cloud, right? Which means that type of cloud, the benefit of the cloud, type of cloud. Anything else? Speak up. Cloud intro, benefit of cloud, type of cloud. Very good, Ravi. Type of cloud, benefit of cloud. Then we discussed about serverless computing. No, but initially for the first class, okay. Initially for the first class, what all things we have learned? So type of cloud, benefit of cloud. Then we discussed what else? Cloud computing. Then we discussed about serverless cloud. Then we discussed about power of Azure. Power of Azure in the sense how big it is and whatnot, right? In the basics of cloud, we discussed about the differences between the data center and the cloud and all those things. Now, in the power of cloud, we discussed about, power of Azure, we discussed about how many services Azure provide, what is the marketplace of the, for the Azure marketplace. Then we discussed about what? What we discussed? We discussed about Azure services, which are categorized in the 9 different categories, and for each category we discussed about approximately 10 different type of services, which are the main popular services for Azure. So so that you will be able to at least understand the names, and in case if somebody will ask you, or somebody is having a discussion, at least you will know that, okay, these are the terms which are related. Then we discussed about in the Azure marketplace who all can provide this and the type of services. So we discussed about the 8,000 services. We discussed about who all can provide this, and what is the benefit in comparison to the general open source. So although in the Azure marketplace you can see the open source component, you can see from different other vendors, you can see several different products, which means that from the registered companies such as like Oracle, and say IBM or whatnot. So I mean, different companies or different vendors provide their services, but open source also provide their services for the Azure. And those, the benefit would be that these are the applications which are certified by the Azure. So that, okay, these are good to go. So therefore, you can opt them with confidence, and in case if you are going with the Azure integration, you can't expect much of the challenges while integrating those services with Azure. So that ways you are having so many different services which you can take with confidence, right? Okay. We discussed about, when we discussed about serverless, we discussed about the type of the serverless functions, right? Serverless types. Okay, serverless computing type. Okay, so when we say serverless computing type, we discussed about 4 or 5 different types. I think 4. in which we discussed about the Azure functions. What else? We discussed about what else we discussed? We discussed about Azure, Kubernetes. We discussed about serverless workflows, right? The difference between the serverless workflow and yes, the serverless API gateway. Serverless API gateway. Yes. Kubernetes. Yes. Serverless functions. Serverless application environment. Right. So app dev. What is app dev?
Serverless application development.
Yes, serverless application development. Correct. So therefore, we discussed on several different things. Now, so just to save the space, I'm not mentioning all of them here because we know that we have some like the limitations. But yes, when I'm saying limitation of the whiteboard which we have. Okay. But anyways, now we are going for next. So today we are going to discuss core Azure architectural component, which means that when as an architect, when you start thinking that what all things you will be able to use with Azure and how you will go about Azure. So the first thing which you should know that Azure subscription and the management groups. So the first thing is about Azure subscription and management group. What do we mean by subscription? What do we mean by Azure subscription? And what do we mean by Azure management group? We will discuss that. Okay. So here we are going to discuss about Azure subscription and Azure management group. Now, the first thing, I think, should be like this. Okay. Azure subscription and Azure management group. Okay. So let us talk about Azure subscription. So suppose you want to have an account with Azure. So the first thing which you will do is you will go to Azure and you will create a subscription or you will purchase a subscription. Last time we discussed about the free type of subscription, right? So there are two categories of the free subscription for learning purpose. The one is a student subscription and second is for general users. So for student subscription, you need a full, in case if you're going for a student subscription, you need to provide your school ID, your detail of the school, so that Azure will be able to validate you from that school that yes, you are a student and you can go for it. Second is that for professionals or for anybody else, so you can go for free tier for learning, but it has a limitation of 1 month. I will show the Azure platform and explain you how it looks and what you should be doing to get the subscription. Okay, but first of all, let us understand the concept of it. Okay, next is that once you take the subscription, the next thing which you need to take is the resource group. So you need to create that resource group. The subscription is something you are purchasing. The resource group you are creating within that subscription to start using your resources. And we will discuss about the benefit of the resource group, what it is, what not. And then we will discuss about the management, the management groups also, and we will also discuss about the resources. Now, coming to, so let us, just for the sake of ease, although the hierarchy is something like this, that you create your Azure account, you take subscription, you may be having multiple subscription within an account. So if you are having an Azure account with your name, you can have one or more subscriptions with you. For example, something for free tier where you wanted to do some experiments and all those things. Then you can go for some pay-as-you-go subscription. You can also take a subscription for your company like that. So you can have multiple subscription within an Azure account, so that Azure know that yes, you are having multiple subscription. Within each subscription, then you can go for resource groups. Okay, so you can have the resource group. So what is the hierarchy? Hierarchy is Azure account. So you are first creating an Azure account. From this Azure account, then you can go for subscription. So you can have multiple subscription, one or more. So you can have multiple subscription. You can have then after subscription, what happens? That you create resource group. After resource group, what you do? You put resources, okay, within that. And you also do, you can also create management group. Okay, so we will discuss about these things, that how it happens. So Azure account has subscription, and subscription has resource group, and resource group has the resources. Okay. Now, when you say resources, first let us understand. So this is a hierarchy, but we need to know, because as a layman, we understand what are the resources. Or when I'm saying layman, which means from the IT background, we understand what are the resources. We normally talk in the IT industry about the resources. So what are the resources? Resources are, so what is resources? Okay, so the resources are instance of the services that you create. For example, like virtual machine, like Azure storage. So yesterday we discussed about various different type of Azure storage, right? So you can think of from the Azure storage point of view. You can think of from the SQL database point of view. So these are the resources. So you can have the VM, you can have different databases, you can have the storage account, you can have like the VNet, right? So you can also have the VNet. So these are different things which are part of your resources. Okay. Next is but in order to manage those resources in a nice way, you need to create a resource group. So resources are combined into a resource group, which act as a logical container into the Azure resources. So suppose you wanted to create a web app. Now, in order to create a web app, you wanted to put all its resources which are associated with that web app, maybe in a one or two resource groups, right? So you can create a parent resource group. Within that, you can create child resource groups, and within that, you can create your resources. Okay, so that is how you will be able to manage it. So how resource group help us to manage? With the help of resource group, you can monitor your resources in a nice way. That is point number one. Point number two is With the help of resource group, if you want, you can delete your resources. Suppose you have created a resource group. Now you don't need to apply the changes individually. You can apply the changes such as stopping those services or removing the services or whatever. So those things you can do it easily with the resource group. Okay. So therefore you create a logical account for the resource group. Okay. After you create a resource group, so resource group is nothing but a logical container for, to keep your resources and to manage your resources. To keep your resources and to manage your resources. Okay. Now, next is, what is subscription? A subscription group, a subscription is basically a kind of entity. Again, it's a logical entity which groups together user accounts and the resources that have been created by those users by those user account. For each subscription, there are limits or quota on the amount of resources that you can create and use. So Azure applies a limit or quota on the amount of resources that you can use within that subscription, that you can create and use within that subscription. Organization can use subscription to manage the cost and resources that are created by users, teams, or project. Okay. So subscription, with the help of subscription, what you can do, you can you can group them, and then Azure can apply a limit or quota for the amount of resources you create. Okay. Now that way you can easily manage the cost. You can, so cost management you can do. You can easily track your cost, that okay, in past say 10 days period of time or in say 1 month period of time, how much it cost. You can create, you can and with the help of it, then you will also be able to create the users and or teams or project. So maybe you wanted to create a subscription for your project, maybe you wanted to create a subscription for your team, and then you can easily monitor them, then that okay, who is creating how many resources and what cost is coming out and what benefit you are getting out of it. So all those things you can do. Benefit calculation, etc. Those things you can do with the help of subscription. Okay. So we discussed about A, resources. We discussed about B, resource groups. We discussed about C, subscription. Then we discussed about management group. These groups help you to manage access, policy, and compliances for multiple subscription. So suppose you have a subscription and there are multiple subscription, as I mentioned here. Now you wanted to create a management group. So management group can help you to manage multiple subscription. Okay. And with the all subscription in a management group automatically inherit the condition applied in the management group. So it is, so the benefit of it is that with the help of management group, you can apply some conditions, whatever conditions you want. Suppose you wanted to say that how many sorry, how many resources one subscription can have, like that. So those things you will be able to manage using management groups. Okay. So okay, so we discussed at high level for all these things, that how we create the management group. Now let us learn a few more concepts related with the Azure. Okay, and we will see how it looks like when we are using for when we are using Azure. So basically we can say that the life cycle management, if you delete a resource, Okay, so lifecycle management for the resources can be done by the resource group lifecycle management. Okay, but okay. Now next is we will see the subscription. Okay, and that how we will be able to create a subscription, and we will see perhaps we will discuss the management group later on, but recently we will be able to see the resources, the resource group, and the subscription, this part. Okay, later on, once we will have, in case if we will be having multiple subscription, we can create a management group to manage the subscription in a more in a better manner. Okay, now so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the Azure. 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen for the Azure portal. Just a minute. So what you will go do is just Google it and search the Azure portal. From Azure portal, you can click on this link, the first link which will come, and you can see the azure.microsoft.com. Here you will see build in the cloud with a Azure free account. So in case if you wanted to create a free account, you will be able to do it. But right now I don't recommend. So what are the things it provides? It provides the popular services free for 12 months. But this is just a kind of you know much misnomer type of thing. But I'll tell you what it is. Then 40 plus other services free always. But even if you will see it, but you will be, I mean, until you will not have this thing, you will not be able to utilize the things in a better way. So but these 30 days, the user, the Azure provides you the USD 200 credit. With this USD 200 credit, you will be able to enjoy your 30 days. After 30 days, then it will not be much useful for, I mean, these two things, at least for the beginners, right? And then so we will see what all free services we have and what all other things we have, right? Okay, so now if you go down after your credit, keep getting free services. So these are the 40 services, say for 12 months. So what it has: Azure virtual machines, Linux, Azure virtual machine for Windows, Azure SQL database, Azure blob storage, right? And all those things, right? Azure Cosmos DB, app services, Azure function, Azure event grid, like this. But these are some of the 40 free services, which are for 12 months. Okay. Now, so we will try to utilize some of them, but we may not be able to do it, much of the things freely. Okay. Now, and some of the things are, which are always free, which are like, maybe we will see. Those are like 40 plus other services which are free always, and popular services free for 12 months. Okay. Now, in case if I'm going for start free or start pay as you go, so these are the two options. Now, for learning, suppose if you wanted to go for start free, we will see that require a kind of ID for us. Okay. Now that ID, as I explained you in our first class, that you need to create an ID, you need to put your credit card or debit card, and Azure will deduct, say, 2 rupees from your credit card or debit card, whatever you provide, and then it refund you back. Okay, just to make sure that yes, you are a valid user, you are not just a kind of person who is trying to make fun with Azure. So it will do it like that. Okay. Now, once you register with a particular ID, for example, I have this ID, Microsoft ID, and I have registered with it. So each time it will validate that yes, you are a right person. So it require you to, we will send a request to your phone to verify your identity. So you need to install Microsoft Authenticator in your mobile, so that it will be able to authenticate you that yes, you are the right person who is associated with this particular ID. Okay. So what we will do is, and since my ID is already registered, and I have registered my 2 IDs here, and both got expired. Now both got the 30 days consumed. The 30 days I have consumed. So now Azure will not provide me much of the liberty, and I will not be able to use it. But as I explained you, how you will be able to use it. Okay. So that ways you will be able to learn the things. Okay. Now coming to, so even if you are trying to use the free ID, you need to always enter your Azure credential. That is must. Okay. Now suppose if I'm going here, it says that check your Microsoft Authenticator. I'm checking it on my mobile. So Azure might have sent some request on it. Yes, I am approving it. What happened? Okay. So after this, it allows me to sign in. But it will also tell me that you are not eligible for a Azure free account. Okay. I need to go for pay as you go. See? So if the moment if I'm crossing the 30 days time limit, then it will show you like this. It won't show you that, okay, you will be able to use these services for 12 months or whatever. So now I need to go for this. Okay. So to avoid such things, we will discuss how we will be able to do it for our batch. Okay. Now, so I don't have other way, any other thing other than stopping it. So I'm moving out. So I have these two accounts which I consumed. Okay. But now we will see, okay, how we will be able to do it. Now, in case if I'm going for, see this, and if I'm going for, say, in Azure services, these are the services which are for say 12 months and so, but you have seen the practical, okay, that what it provides and and what not, and because definitely it require a credit, okay, and without credit you will not be able to use much of the things, okay. So this is a problem, okay. So what we will do is, from anyone of you who who want to go for it. So I don't suggest it right now, although because we will not be able to do much of the practical right now. So do it when, once I'll tell you that, okay, now you need to do it, okay, and we need to do some practical. So once I tell you, then you just start doing it, okay. Any question, or is it clear? Okay. So we have seen the practical challenges, okay, but no worries, we will be able to handle it and we will go about, okay. Now the next is, so far we understood the theoretical concept of it, that okay, what are the resource group, what is the logical container, what is the subscription, and what are the management group and the benefit of it, okay. So now we are going for the next. In case if suppose if I'll if as a batch, if we will start consuming the Azure subscription, is suppose in case if I'll ask you to create it, what will happen is that you before we will be able to do much of practical, or you know the 30 days will go off, and then we need to create another account. So just to avoid it, until we will not have some of the significant things in our hand to understand and do some practical, let's wait for that, okay. Do you agree? Just don't remain silent, speak up, okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So Azure resources, okay, Azure resource group. Now let us discuss Azure resource group in a better manner. So a resource group, as I said, is a container that holds related resources for Azure solution. The resource group can include all the resources for the solution, or only those resources that you wanted to manage as a group. For example, you wanted to create a website and you wanted to put the related resources there. But on the other hand, you wanted to create a web app, okay, or you wanted to create some virtual machine and a database for your some application. For that, you can create another resource group. So there is no limit, right? So you decide how you want to allocate resources to in a resource group. Okay. So resources can exist in only one resource group, not in multiple resource group. That is the one condition. Okay. So in case if you want to have your resources in multiple this thing, that's not a good idea, or that's not a good thing. So resources can exist in only one resource group. That is the one condition. Okay. In case if you wanted to do it in a different way, perhaps there are some of the tricks we will we will discuss it. But right now, you can say that resources can exist only in one resource group. Okay. Second is resource can exist in different reason although. So reason is not a limit. Resources can exist in different reason as you want. Resource group and resource locations can be different. So you can have multiple resources, okay, in a different resource group. Sorry, you can't have it, but you can have multiple reasons and multiple locations. That is, I mean, this is the thing which you can do. For example, if you are creating a resource group, say RG1, and within that RG1, if you want, what is it? Okay, suppose you are creating a resource group, say RG1, and within RG1, then you want, suppose you are created RG1, and in that you have created, say, one virtual machine, and this virtual machine, say you are putting it in, say, US West region, and that other virtual machine you want, and you can put it in the US East. Okay, so you can easily do that. Resources can exist in different regions. Okay, but and next is, so within, say, US West, suppose if you wanted to, suppose in case if you will see that there are different places within the US West. So you can even put your resources in that. So within a region in different locations, you can also put your resources. Okay, but so that is not a limit. Okay, so that is how you will be able to do it. Okay, that is one thing. Okay, next is resources. You can move from one resource group to other resource group. So you are free to move your resources, okay, from one resource group to other resource group. So there is no problem in that. But you should not be having multiple, okay, is what the condition is. Okay, so you can move your resources. Next is you can, so these are some of the conditions. Then application can utilize multiple resource groups. So in case if you wanted to create an application, so it's not essential that you create it from the same resource group only. You can utilize your application, or you can create your application from multiple resource group as also. But normally when I'm doing it for my own purpose, I do it within a single resource group because it helps me a lot. It I can easily manage it. Okay, so it helps me. So therefore, my personal preference is that I'm using one resource group for one application. Okay. Now next is, now we discussed about what are different type of, what do you mean by the Azure resources? Azure resources can be Azure virtual machine. It can be your storage account. It can be your virtual network. It can be your whatever. So we discussed about the serverless functions. It can be that. It can be your web. It can be your SQL databases. So those, all those things are collectively known as the one single term for all these things is Azure resources. Okay, so create a new web app by using, say for example, using a Docker image stored in the Azure container registry, and then you can create a web app, for example. Okay, now Azure subscription and management group. So how it looks like that you will be having one billing account. Okay, that billing account can have multiple billing profiles. Okay, for different invoices and the payment methods. Now, one invoice can have Azure subscription. Another invoice can have another Azure subscription. So like that, for your cost management point of view, you will be able to do it. So we discussed here that in case if you are having Azure account, okay, within that Azure account, you can have multiple subscription, right? So one Azure account can have your billing profile. So when talking about this Azure account can, can further be divided into billing profile. Okay. Now this billing profile, which means that you may have billing profile 1, you may have billing profile 2, like this. Okay. So you can have n number of billing profiles. Now within one billing profile, you will be able to put, with the help of this, you will be able to create different invoices. Okay. And that you will be able to manage. Okay. Now billing boundary you can also have. So this subscription type determine how an Azure account is built by using Azure. You can create multiple subscription, different types of billing requirement. Azure generates separate billing reports and invoices for each subscription so that you can organize and manage that cost. Okay. Now, next is access control boundaries. Okay. So these are some of the things which you do to manage your cost, and this is this is very important once you will start using the Azure. So Azure applies access management policies at the subscription level, and you can create separate subscription to reflect different organizational structure. For example, um, within a business you have different departments to which you apply distinct Azure subscription policies. This billing model allows you to manage and control access to the resources that users provision and specify. For that specific subscription. Okay, so based on your departments within your company, you can create different subscription. Based on your different projects, you can create subscription. Based on your different teams, you can create a different subscription. Okay, now suppose you wanted to add to create additional subscription for your for your different resources, for your different environment also you can create. So when managing your resources, you can choose to create subscription to set up an separate environment for the development and testing. So assume that assume that you have one development team and one is the testing team. Okay, so you can also create your subscription based on that. Okay, you can also create your subscription for to enhance the security and isolation of data for compliance reason. Okay, so for those reasons you will also be able to create different environments, and for each environment then you will be able to create your subscription. So when I'm saying environment, which means that for development, for testing, for security, for a compliance reason, you can have different these things. You can also put your subscription based on your organizational structure, as I said, right? You can also create your subscription based on your billing purpose. For example, you want to generate a billing based on certain period. You can create a subscription based on that, right? Subscription limits. Subscription are bound to have some hard limits. For example, the maximum number of Azure Express route circuits per subscription is how much. Okay, those limits should be considered as you create subscription on your account. If there is a need to go over those limits in particular scenario, you might need an additional subscription. So the subscription imposes a limit. Okay, in case if you wanted to go beyond that limit, then you may need an additional subscription. So therefore this is important. Now similarly, you can also customize your billing to meet your need. So for that purpose, you can also use your this thing. Okay, so if you have multiple subscription, you can organize them into invoice sections. Each invoice section in a is a kind of line item on that invoice that shows the charges incurred for that month or for that particular period. You I mean, how many charges have incurred, I mean, within that particular month or within that particular period, that you can decide. Okay, so this is how you will be able to do your subscription and the management. So you will be able to nicely manage your things. Next is important fact about the management. So management group is another important thing, right? So when we are talking about the management group, so say what is the management group? Let's first understand that. Okay, so as I have explained you some time back, that management group, I mean, the basic purpose of the management group. But if we wanted to learn more on the management group, the management group tree can support up to 6 level of the depth. Okay, this limit doesn't include the root level or or the subscription level. So you can create a hierarchy that applies a policy. For example, you could limit, say, VM location to the US West region in a group. Okay, say for example, this is your production. Okay, this is your production, and you wanted to put that production in the US West region. Okay, and you can limit your VM locations. That okay, this is my VM location. This policy will inherit only inherit onto all the enterprise agreement subscription that are descendant for that management group, and will apply to all VM under those subscription. So you can say that I want all my production VMs in the US West region only. Okay, so nobody, once you create that type of subscription, nobody else will be able to create any VM outside US West. Okay, how it helps? It helps so that you will be able to control your things. Now, suppose you are a leader within an account, and you wanted to decide few things, right? So you wanted to ensure this thing that nobody, even by mistake, will be able to create the resources within, say, another resource group or another location, right? So you will be able to restrict that. Okay, so there is a concept called RBAC. That means role-based access control. That role-based access control you can also do. Okay, so in case if you wanted to do the role-based access control, that you can also do using your subscription. Okay, sorry, using your management group. Okay, so and also this RBAC we will discuss relatively much during, I mean, as we go along, because definitely we need a lot of role-based access controls, right? Particularly for management point of view. So this role-based access control is known, control term is known as RBAC. Okay, this RBAC, you need to understand that this tells you that for each role what access control you wanted to apply. For example, you want your production to be in the West, US West. You want your testing to happen in India. Okay, or you want your security compliances and your other things in a along with your say US East. Okay, the reason why, because depending on the government regulations, you wanted to choose different things, right? And similarly, depending on your organizational need, you want to apply the things in a different manner. So based on your organizational need, based on the government compliances, based on security policies, based on your cost, you can create the things in a different manner, right? And for that, you can create a kind of a limit at which you want that which should get inherited to everything whatever being done, right? For example, in the production system, you just don't want a VM, but definitely when a system administrator come and start using it, he may want to put the VMSS, right? He may wanted to put some databases. He may wanted to put some what VNet. He can also go for some serverless. So once you decide that this particular management group is related with this particular location or this particular criteria, then that criteria will get will be imposed on all the resources which belongs to that particular management group. Okay, and you can create the nested management group also. For example, you wanted to create a higher level management group, and then you wanted to create multiple management group under that. So this way you will be able to create a kind of tree. Okay, so on a top level management group, say for example you are creating a management group based on your company, then you wanted to create a management group based on different departments. Then you wanted to create a child of it, which is based on different accounts within that within those particular departments. Then within that, suppose you wanted to create a management group which you wanted to do for your say development, testing, production, and all those things. So like that, if you want, you can create a kind of group tree. So management group tree. Okay, and this management group tree, there are 6 level. Say, from top down manner, you can have like the 6th level of the management group tree. So you can think of that this is a kind of very big structure you can create, right, for the management group. And therefore, why Azure is providing it? Because for large organization, definitely you need a kind of very big infrastructure, right? And how you will be able to manage? So you don't want to do the things again and again. You just wanted to once you need to plan properly, and then you create a management group, and then you further divide it, and so that your resources have to abide by that particular policy or those particular rules. Okay, so once you create that in a systematic manner, your tension will go off. That okay, now now you can easily control your cost. Now you can easily think of that. Okay, how I wanted to do the things in the future. So each management group can have multiple children, and all subscription and management group are within a single hierarchy in each directory. Okay, and a similarly 10,000 management group can be supported in a single directory. So you can create one on top of management group. You can have a directory, and that directory can have 10,000 management groups. Okay, now so this way you will be able to design your organization. Now when you are coming to say Azure region, so you can just go and do the do the Google, and you will be able to see that there are so many Azure regions. So you will be able to see that there are approximately right now there are say 60 Azure regions. Okay, so 60 plus, I think, yeah, more than 60 Azure regions have been announced. Okay, now Azure make it easy to choose the data center and region that are right for you and your customer. So normally regions are made up. Now let us understand the concept of region. I think I have not explained you yet. Okay, what do we mean by region? Okay, so regions are made up of one or more data centers in the close proximity. So we discussed about the data centers in our first class, right? So in case if there are multiple data centers, if suppose say for example in India, Mumbai. Now in India, Mumbai, suppose there are say 10 or 15 data centers are there. Those data centers as a combined are known as that particular region. This provide a flexibility and scale to reduce customer latency. So within that particular region, if you are putting your servers or if you are putting your configuration, because suppose you are doing your business from within the Mumbai, then you will be, easily able to manage that. So your data residency within with a comprehensive compliance offering, right? That you can do, because normally data is very important, right? So you wanted to keep your data secure within a particular region, right? So that is how you will be able to do. So and what is the size of the region normally? So normally the size of the region is 300 miles. Okay, so which means that one region and another regions. Okay, so say for example, you are having one region in Mumbai and another region in, say, Delhi. Okay, so Azure says that what is the how much apart. Okay, what is the internal difference between the two regions, right? So the two regions can have internally 300 miles separation. Why? Because to take care of your disaster recovery scenario. Okay, so in case if it is like in a very close proximity, if you are keeping the region within a very close proximity, then it doesn't make sense, right? So you need to have the region with some criteria. So Azure says that you can have the regions separation for, say, 300 miles apart. Okay, now so suppose you are having some outage of in one region, that will not get impacted on another region, right? Normally we say that, okay, say for example, if say electricity is down or some outage happens or some earthquake happen or whatever, right? So to save from those scenario, you are having these different regions which are, say, 300 miles apart, where you will be able to keep your resources and you will be able to utilize them. Okay, so I think we are crossing our time limit. So next we will discuss the next thing, which is availability zone. Maybe in our next class. So right now we need to stop, considering the time limit. So next we will discuss about availability zone. In case if you have any question quickly, you will be able to ask right now in just 4 minutes. Any doubt, any problem?
No, Girish, no doubts from my side. And thank you for
Thank you
these
so much.
sessions. These are very helpful. Yeah.
Thank you so much. How does the billing happens in case of entire organization? Okay, so in case of entire organization, you can do the billing based on your management groups and based on your subscription. As I explained, that you can do the billing in several different ways. So based on your okay. So this, I think I have explained in very detail by giving you several different examples of the production, testing, different departments, right? Okay. Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, everyone. So now we will meet maybe on Monday. And tomorrow we don't have any class, okay? Okay, then see you. Bye.
Thank you all.